The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Get some with your nine-ish. Yeah. What about that? What about your nine-ish? It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to the Sportsocracy, brought to you by Wicked Weed Brewing, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene. This is Brian Haynes, and this is Mullet's Mailbag. We'll be answering all your NFL draft questions live here from the Wicked Weed Studios. We are 7 days away from the NFL draft. What could be one of the most incredible drafts of my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever walked into a draft feeling so sure that I know what's going to happen in the first 2 picks, and then it just gets sideways as hell from there.
I could see several different trades happening, several different things which is going to affect the top half of the draft to where people could fall further than I expected. And that means the back end of the first round gets a lot more interesting. And I think that is what has everybody not up in arms, but necessarily excited to see what could possibly happen. I was going through it last night in my head, and I could see so many different scenarios that it's hard for me to adjust on the fly who could go where until I know exactly what's happening, and that's kind of crazy.
It very much is. I've come to this conclusion that the draft starts at 3. We know Trevor Lawrence goes 1, Zach Wilson goes 2, and then shit's just going to get sideways. So we have questions that have been elicited. I will continue to answer questions. If you have a question, feel free to throw it in the comments, and it will be thrown to me, and Brian and I will discuss it. I'm going to ask a question off the jump. Just
Sure.
I'm going to break the rules of Mullet's Mailbag, and Mullet's going to ask a question. If there was a team that intrigued you the most going into this draft, who is it?
Okay. There is a few different options for me here. Number one is the Miami Dolphins. The reason I say that is there is a lot of talk out there about them even talking about trading back down, which kind of makes me think that either they're just looking to get some more picks or they have a wide receiver in mind and their thought was never going to be Penny Sewell, which we've kind of had on our mocks for quite a while now. So that's really intriguing to me because, again, they're also kind of a ready-made team for a playoff push. And the other one, I think, is going to be the Washington football team. And the reason I say that is because they may want to move back up. I've heard they're trying to move up for a quarterback, which I don't know if that's the right path. I think they're ready to go.
It's not true, so I'll cut your knees out of that one because it's not true.
Okay, well, there we go. And I think that they're the team that I think is going to benefit the most from the craziness of this. And I think if they sit pat at where they are, they're going to get a good draft pick at there. So those are my intriguing teams.
I'll agree with you, and I agree on both of those. Miami would be one of mine. Here's a fun stat about Miami. They have 5 picks in the top 82. Mm-hmm. They have to wait 75 picks to pick again and then do that again. So this is not going to be a super deep draft for them.
Right.
They don't need it to be.
No.
They need to hit home runs with a wide receiver. I think they need another offensive lineman. But Miami is one of the teams that intrigues me. My answer is very simple. San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
2 of the questions in the mailbag are about the 49ers, so I'm not going to dig too deep into them right here. Mm-hmm. They control everything in this draft.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's kind of crazy.
There are probably 10 teams that are hinging on what the 49ers do at 3.
Right.
And I would be and you're going to catch a theme of every time I talk about the 49ers today.
Okay.
I want you to think about this. I've said this on our ESPN radio show, The Sports Tank with me, found on iHeart, anywhere that you have the iHeart radio app. Take it with you wherever you go.
Look at you.
Look at me.
Doing some promos. I love it.
Me. Where's my fucking bell? Yeah. It's weird to hit that with my left hand. I've said this on that show multiple times. John Lynch, when he took the job with the 49ers, he made them wait a week to announce him. Mm-hmm. For the premise of he wanted to see if anything got out of the room. He wanted to see if it was leaked and see if there were leaks within the room. And now we're supposed to believe they told everybody and their brother they're taking Mac Jones? Okay.
Yeah.
I was born at night. It wasn't last night.
It was not last night. No.
All right, let's get into this. Caleb, we have 5 random questions up. We'll take more questions in the comments. Fire the first one at random.
Question 3.
Who will be taken with the 3rd pick? If the 3rd pick has a good preseason, does San Francisco consider trading Jimmy Garoppolo at that point? All right, I'm at a level.
Okay.
I was on Trey Lance from the minute they made this trade.
Yep.
We broke in live in this studio the minute that trade happened, and I couldn't get away from it was Trey Lance. He has the highest upside of any quarterback in this class. And I can't believe that San Francisco would go up and get the safe guy. Now, if it's Trey Lance, no. There is nothing that will happen that elicits Jimmy Garoppolo to be dealt. I believe. Because Trey Lance is a guy that needs a backboard. And if he doesn't have that, it could go very sideways because this is a huge step up in competition. This is from Colton Finnegan, by the way, at KF Better Than You on Twitter. If it's Trey Lance, I will say no. There is no possibility, no matter what happens, of Jimmy Garoppolo being dealt. If it's either of the other two, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo makes it out of the weekend.
Really? Mm-hmm. So here's what, and I guess this all depends on, and this is why you said they're so intriguing because, everything is saying Mac Jones. I agree with you. I can't foresee San Francisco giving up that many picks to go up and get the safe guy. Right. I have thought it's been Trey Lance all along. People are screaming for Justin Fields, which I don't believe it is. Here's what I think they should do. I believe that no matter who they pick at number 3, Jimmy Garoppolo should be on this roster. Here's my reasoning. I'm not sure that the guy coming in, whether it be Jones, Fields, or Lance, should be starting week 1 with this team. I think San Francisco is a team that is a Super Bowl contending team defensively, and Kyle Shanahan's offense predicates on not making turnovers, making the right decision and stuff. I just don't foresee week 1 them putting a rookie out there, whether they draft him in the top 3 or not, when you already have a starter who went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago on your roster. Now, Jimmy gets hurt a lot. Jimmy is very injury prone. Let's say we were 3-4 weeks in the season, 1, Jimmy gets hurt. This is an obvious situation. Let's just say that week 3 or 4, he's not really living up to what he should be. Now, San Francisco's done this in the past. If you remember correctly, Alex Smith was the starter for pretty much most of the season. Towards the end of the season, they went with Colin Kaepernick. This is not the same regime, but they have a history as a team of doing something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So here's the thing. I think that I really honestly believe that no matter who they draft, Jimmy G should stay on this roster unless for some reason New England gives them such a great package for him that they can't come off of it.
And here's how I feel about what you just said. Nope. Doesn't work that way. You can't give up this much draft capital to go get a guy. Jimmy Garoppolo would be constantly hurt. The fan base be so off. They've jumped off the boat on Jimmy Garoppolo. There's no doubt in my opinion. Now, you have an asset that you can get something back for. What that is, I don't know. What I think is ironic is that I believe that the trade would be a second-round pick coming from New England, which is exactly what went to New England to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think if New England offers a 2, unless it's Trey Lance, I think you have to take it.
Right.
Because the fan base will be screaming whether it's Mac Jones or Justin Fields to get him on the field immediately. Mm-hmm. Trey Lance, they might be patient because they didn't watch this guy in college. We watched Mac Jones. We just saw this with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I don't think anybody with an IQ above salad dressing thinks Jalen Hurts is an elite thrower of the football. I don't think I'm being spicy there. You can love the guy. You don't think he's an elite thrower of the football. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia fans were screaming for him by week 6.
Right.
And that's over Carson Wentz, who has at least had one MVP season. MVP level season. He didn't win it because he got hurt. Garoppolo took him to a Super Bowl, but we all think that was more because of the defense than it was because of anything. Fact or fiction, the San Francisco 49ers made it to the Super Bowl because their defense was otherworldly and Jimmy Garoppolo was good enough.
That was 100% a fact. I think Jimmy played decent, and he actually outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl until, the fourth quarter happened.
Did he, though?
I think so.
Did he, though?
I don't know. I do. I think he played pretty well, and then the fourth quarter happened.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's what wins football games.
Yeah,
so
fourth quarters are important.
they're pretty important.
I would say if you put a gun to my head and ask me what does San Francisco do, I will say they take Trey Lance at 3, they keep Jimmy Garoppolo, and next offseason he winds up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Because next year, and this is the Jordan Love point that Mel Kiper had, next year quarterbacks are going to be at a premium. So if you are dissatisfied with your quarterback play this year and you're not in the top 2, you're pretty screwed. Because you got Keaton Slovis and you got Sam Howell. That's it.
Right.
So Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, will have more value next year. I don't know that they want to go into the season with Garoppolo on the roster and just – you're asking for trouble if you do that, in my opinion.
And I could see that if it was like one of the bigger 2 guys, but there is some questions about the other 3 which would lead them to be able to say, hey, we can put this guy on the bench to start the season. You know, Lance doesn't have that many snaps. Mac Jones is an unknown. Justin Fields, we all know.
Mac Jones is not an unknown.
Well, not an unknown as much as do we really know what he's going to bring to the table as an NFL quarterback?
Yeah, he's going to be Rex Grossman. I think I've said that like 46 times.
You probably have, and I agree with that. I agree with the comparison, but I just don't know if he's going to be that right away, is what I'm saying. Not week 1 starting. I don't think he's out there ready to prove himself as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I think of all the quarterbacks in this draft class, he's the guy that's the most ready to walk in and be the guy that he's going to be.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence would be 2 in that, and I would say Zach Wilson's 3.
Okay.
Justin Fields and Trey Lance, to me, both need some time. Mm-hmm. I think it will be Trey Lance. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster. Thank you for the question, Colton Finnegan. Caleb, question 2. What is the biggest need of the Washington football team? Will they reach for anyone specific to fill that need? This is from Patrick Holt. You can find him on Twitter at Dr. Genesis NC. I look at this differently because to me, I think this Washington team is really good. The defense is otherworldly. They added Curtis Samuel in the offseason. Obviously, Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson that they drafted last year. I believe in Antonio Gandy Golden. If I had to say they had a definitive need, I think it's at linebacker.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that this is why I think they're intriguing because I've said this on several platforms that we've been doing here recently. If you want to check out the Washington mock draft, go to our Sportsocracy page at YouTube. Check them all out on there. There's also free agent grades and all kinds of different stuff that we've doing draft content out the yazoo. So,
wait.
nice. Promos. Here's the thing. I think where Washington football team stands right now is that their defense is going to be historically good. I see this team being an 85 Bears defense, a 2002 Ravens defense. I see this being just a crazy, crazy good defense. I see a couple needs at linebacker, offensive line, and then I'm not sure. I really do believe in Antonio Gandy Golden. I think their Cam Sims actually showed not that he didn't light up the scoreboard in stats, but he blocked very well as a wide receiver last year. He did really well. So I think they have some wide receivers, but I could see them going for a wide receiver. At their position in 19, there could be so many good players left. I know that we've had, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as the mock to them, and that is if he's there, that's the pick, period.
He'll be there. And
he'll be there. There's also some guys, they also maybe need a cornerback. I don't believe Surtain or, I'm slipping right. J.C. Horn from South Carolina are going to be there. There's a chance Caleb Farley might be there, and there's a chance, and then Greg Newsome would be there as well. I think if they that would be a little bit of a reach at cornerback for Newsome, but maybe not so much for Farley, even though I have Newsome rated higher than Farley. I think the systems are different. I think they can either go with JOK or they can go with Micah Parsons if he's there as well. But I think there's more upside on JOK than there is on Micah Parsons.
I would agree. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is a guy that some teams value as a safety, some value as a linebacker. I am going to come up with a name for this position It's the Isaiah Simmons position. And I think that's what can take this defense to the level of what you're talking about. I love the fit with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think if they were going to reach for a position, I think it would be a tackle. But I actually think they are comfortable with what they currently have at tackle. They had 2 top 20 rated tackles, according to Pro Football Focus.
Right.
Did you know that?
I would have never even thought about that.
I had no clue. Morgan, well, it was top 22. Morgan Moses was 18. Cornelius Lucas was 22.
Yeah.
I thought tackle would be a position they might, early in the process, I thought it was a position they might reach for. I don't think Washington has to reach for anything. They can if they want to take an outside receiver here, they don't believe in Cam Sims or they want to improve, they could do that. I don't think you have to. I think this is such a good draft that you can sit back, you can wait. I think there are going to be guys that go on day 3 that start in this league.
The draft is super
at
deep.
receiver.
Yeah.
And running back. Those are 2 deep positions in this draft.
That's what I'm saying. I think that if they're looking to upgrade or they're trying to get a wide receiver, they don't have to reach here at 19. I think this is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of needs. So I think they can basically pick the best player that's there, and for maybe a need that they're looking to. But God, ever since you mocked Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah there, I can't get away from it because it just looks so fancy and shiny and all kinds of wonderful things, and I just see that fitting in there. And to be honest, I think Ron Rivera is the perfect head coach for a guy like that. The kid has an all-time motor, and he plays his heart out, and I think that you could just get the absolute best out of him, even though he's a little of that hybrid. I think whatever position you feel like he can get to, they can get the most out of him at there.
I just looked down in the comment section, went full Phil Collins, and I'm not 100% sure I understand why. Oh, it's because Genesis.
Genesis, yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Washington's like I said, they're one of my teams to watch in the draft. I'm not going to be shocked if they wind up taking a younger quarterback, but I think it'd be later. I think people keep trying to shoehorn quarterbacks in there. They're comfortable. You have to remember, what you think of their depth chart doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
What they think of their depth chart means everything. And that's the reason I don't have them taking a tackle. That's the reason that I have them taking a defensive weapon.
Right.
Call him that. Because nobody wants him. I'll tell you a fun stat I told Brian this morning. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah had the 2nd highest slot coverage grade in FBS football last year. He's a linebacker.
Yeah.
He's a linebacker. He was the 2nd highest rated slot corner in the country.
That's exactly what you look at and say, I need this guy in my football team. I mean, that's just unbelievable right there. I've said it, they're just in a great position. As far as the quarterback goes, they have 3 quarterbacks on their roster. And I believe in Taylor Heinicke. He's shown in his time that he's been given that he is a serviceable quarterback if Ryan Fitzpatrick goes down, or if Ryan Fitzpatrick turns into 5 turnover for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Which he will.
I think
that's what
that
he does.
Taylor Heinicke has an opportunity to be the starting quarterback for this team. I think the team believes in him. I think he showed guts and everything he had to. I mean, he got beat up in that game that he got to play, and he did really, really well. And he was not very far away from beating the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, did you have to throw a Super Bowl champion in there? I don't have tons of fun here and I can't get away from Super Bowl champion. Fire those cannons, by golly, put more powder in those things.
Oh, it wasn't so much as
I can't get away from that bullshit for one day.
It wasn't as much of a thing to him as it was saying that they, lost to the eventual champions.
Ugh. Caleb, next question. Gabriel Davis, stock up or stock down with the addition of Emmanuel Sanders? And do the Bills need to add a skill player in the draft? This comes from Corbin Duncan from Facebook. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know what the Bills need. we talked. The reason that we did this question is because I wanted to talk about the Bills, and I can't figure out what they need.
Yeah.
This is a team that I look top to bottom on the roster and just go, I mean, everything's good. I mean, could you improve it? Maybe. But, I mean, if you had a number one need for the Buffalo Bills, what is it right now?
Oh, God. You're right. They're stacked. They brought in a lot of people. I still don't believe in Devin Singletary and Zach Moss or Matt Breida at the running back position, and I still believe they need a tight end. If we're talking about skill positions like this. But anywhere else, I don't see that they have a need.
I am really glad you said that, and I did not prompt you to saying that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a name, and you watch me be right.
Okay.
Hunter Long from Boston College.
Wow. I love Hunter Long. I think he's going to be fantastic in this league.
He's a very good blocker. He's a very good weapon. And the reason we took this question is because, yes, I do think they need to add a skill player. I just don't think it needs to be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I am totally fine with Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
And frankly, one of the signings I hated the most in the offseason was bringing in Emmanuel Sanders because that leads to less snaps for Gabriel Davis. And in this life, there are three things that I know definitively. Tip your bartender, pay your taxes, and play Gabriel fucking Davis.
Yeah.
There are very few things in this life I am that confident of. He is a very good player. But they do need a tight end. And the thing with Buffalo is that they can't go the Kyle. I mean, obviously, Kyle Pitts not going to be there, but they can't go a tight end like that. The way this team functions, they need a tight end that can actually block.
Yes.
How many of those are there in this draft?
Very, very few. There is, after Kyle Pitts, I don't even think Freiermuth fits that mold. Hunter Long is there's two. Jeremy's holding up two fingers right now, which leads me to believe that means that there's two.
There's two.
That's what that means, yeah.
That's all that have any form of receiving ability. It's Hunter Long and it's Tommy Tremble out of Notre Dame. I could see them taking either one. The problem is that I think Tommy Tremble is very Dawson Knoxy.
Very much so.
He's very much a guy that you already have because, yes, he does have receiving ability, but, I mean, he's not going to change anything. I think Hunter Long changes something. I think Hunter Long in Buffalo would be phenomenal. And position scarcity is a thing. I'm telling you right now, I've said this. How long have I been riding the Hunter Long bandwagon?
Oh, I mean, not as long as you've been championing the Gabe Davis train, but you have been, since we started this draft process, the name Hunter Long has been brought up in several conversations. Jeremy is in love with him. I feel the fit in Buffalo is amazing. I mean, he went to Boston College. It's not like he's going to be worried about this cold weather that Buffalo has or anything like that. Hunter Long would be a perfect guy for the tight end that they need there. As far as the Gabe Davis and Emmanuel Sanders stock up, stock down, I don't think, obviously they're going to push Gabe to the number 3 receiver, but I don't think that that's actually going to hurt him fantasy-wise. Gabe Davis actually had more touchdowns than Emmanuel Sanders last year, averaged more yards per catch than Emmanuel Sanders last year. Emmanuel Sanders just had more catches and more yards, but let's be honest, he was about the only person left in New Orleans for about a 7 or 8 game stretch. I think what this actually does is maybe help Gabriel Davis out because I think now you can be able to move him around a little bit more. And I think all 3 of the wide receivers, I'm talking about Diggs, Sanders, and Davis, are now movable around in different positions that they're going to be really hard to scheme against. And I think it's just going to up the level because Emmanuel Sanders still has a little bit left in his tank, I think. Emmanuel
Sanders is the jet ski of the NFL. It sounds a lot better than it actually is. You ever bought a jet ski? Don't.
No.
I'll give you a piece of advice. Don't. They're very expensive, and they're the sparkler of the water world.
I could just see Jeremy out there looking like Kenny Powers out on with his magical mullet out on the jet ski.
Oh, you just wait.
I mean,
this magical mullet is going to be so much better 1 week from right now.
Yeah, baby.
I like the fit with Hunter Long, and I have to address this because 3 of you said it in the comments, and I couldn't disagree with it more. They said Buffalo needs a running back. No, they don't. No, they don't. They have 3 of them. They have 3 of them that I think can be a very good committee of running backs. People seem to forget how good Devin Singletary was as a rookie.
Yeah, and he took a tremendous step back in year 2.
But did he take a step back, or did the line take a step back?
I guess I'm not sure of that.
I am. It was very abundantly obvious. Let me tell you a real easy way to pinpoint that the running back's not the problem. Name a running back that was successful on that team last year.
Nobody.
Josh Allen. Why? That's exactly where I was headed with it.
Yeah.
Why was Josh Allen successful? Because he's the scramble guy.
Yeah.
Because people are terrified of his arm. So you couldn't just bear down on him because you knew he might run over you. in spite of the fact he runs like he's carrying 2 loaves of bread. It doesn't matter. They have zero ability to block for any of these running backs.
Right.
Second need for me would be a pulling guard. Somebody that could actually open a hole for one of these running backs. I still believe in Devin Singletary. I still believe in Zach Moss. Matt Breida's he has a pulse. He lives.
Yeah.
I can't really say much better than that. He's a zone running back.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the stats, and I guess I didn't realize that he still averaged 4.4 yards a carry last year, with 5 less attempts that he had the year before that, and he did catch 9 more balls out of the backfield. I guess when you look at Devin Singletary, sometimes it's the whole fantasy footballization of thinking about what's happening on our sports. For someone who has Devin Singletary on their fantasy dynasty league, I think that's obviously where my brain was going. But if you look at this, if you're still averaging 4.4 yards a carry, it's not like you're doing something that wrong. You're just not getting the opportunities.
That. Everything he just said. You're down on Devin Singletary because he was not good for your fantasy football team. He was still a good runner. He's not a great pass catcher. He never has been. I think that's why they brought in Matt Breida. I really don't believe this team needs a running back. I think they need a tight end. They need to continue to run this offense through Stephon Diggs and build a couple pieces to figure out how to run the ball and it not be in Josh Allen's hands. Because it scares me more and more. The more he runs, the more scared I get. I just got another question in the comments. This is from Roy. Thank you, Roy. Roy is our resident Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
Yep.
Do the Jags sit back with their second first-round pick or find a way to move up?
Oof.
I'm going to be honest with you. Jacksonville's second first-round pick is probably the pick that makes my brain hurt the most. Because I love Trayvon Moehrig there. I do. I love the idea of them adding Trayvon Moehrig right there. And that seems to be really consistent across everybody I talk to, that Trayvon Moehrig is the guy that they're going to target right there. But is he, though? I think we're doing that thing of we're looking at their roster going, this is what we would do. They paid the money to Rayshon Jenkins. We didn't do that. In spite of what we think, they paid the money to him for a reason. They didn't pay him to sit him on the bench and stare at him. Do I think they could move up? No. I'll tell you a player to watch at 25, and this is something I've heard more and more in the last week. Kadarius Toney. Watch him be the pick at 25. Urban Meyer is in love with Kadarius Toney. Why? I have some ideas. He couldn't run a route. I've said this multiple times. If you drew the route on the field, he would still find a way to fuck it up because he can't run a route at all. However, he's very twitchy, he's very elusive, and he's very fast. I think they will stay at 25. I think the more likely scenario is they try to move back from 25.
I do not like the Kadarius Toney to Jacksonville for one simple reason. I think that
I'm going to crucify you for this.
Laviska Shenault is a very similar player. I think that he is, if you're looking for, I think a lot of people look at Kadarius Toney and see something like a Curtis Samuel type of player. What I feel that Laviska Shenault is that guy. I don't think they should get Toney. I think if they want a wide receiver, they should be getting someone different in style than Toney.
I've never had the opportunity on this show to tell you something that you said was stupid. I do it to Tank all the time. I've never got to do it to you.
That's okay.
That was stupid.
Okay.
These are not in any way the same kind of player.
Okay.
That's a lazy comparison, and it's not your fault because so many people do it. If you researched this out and didn't watch the film, of which I gave you 45 minutes to prep for this, so I don't think you were sitting there with all 22 getting ready for this.
No, that's all right.
Kadarius Toney and Laviska Shenault are in no way the same player. Laviska Shenault he's a toy. He can play running back. He can throw passes. He's not polished at anything, but he's not a pre-snap motion guy. That's what Kadarius Toney does so well, is that you can motion him early on. He is a safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence because you can motion Kadarius Toney, and he's so damn fast that the defense has to basically show their hand when he goes in motion. Laviska Shenault does not scare you down the field at all. in any way. Laviska Shenault is more. Ooh, here's one that somebody's going to tell me I'm an idiot, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Laviska Shenault is more Cole Beasley than he is Kadarius Toney. He is, because he's not physically imposing. People think he's faster than he is, and he might be straight line fast, and he has some shiftiness on a field. Him and Kadarius Toney are not the same player.
Okay. I can see where you're at. I mean, he averaged 10 yards a catch last year for Jacksonville, so it's not like he is catching just short routes at all.
10 yards per catch is really, really low.
He did average 5 yards a carry when he got the attempts.
There you go.
So I can see.
Laviska Shenault's a toy.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And I love this guy last year, but he's a toy. He's not a set slot guy, which it seems like everybody's making him that. Mm-hmm. He never was going to be that. He's had injury concerns his entire career. He's not a 50 snap a game guy. He played a lot of snaps last year because they didn't have anybody else. Because D.D. Westbrook apparently forgot how to put one foot in front of the other.
That is a name that surprises the hell out of me. I thought D.D. Westbrook took a huge step up the year before last. And then this year, he was nowhere to be found.
He was dog shit. I'll say it for what it was.
Yeah.
He was dog shit.
And I don't know. I guess maybe part of what I'm saying is I think that if you are drafting at number 1 and you're getting Trevor Lawrence, yeah, you want to get some weapons around him, but I don't think that wide receiver is necessarily that big of a need. DJ Chark and Shenault, I think, are decent enough wide receivers going. He needs to be protected. I mean, they already made the huge mistake of franchising Cam Robinson. You got to do something on the offensive line, and we've talked about this several times before, how thin the offensive line, upper tier of offensive linemen is in this draft. So I think that if you can't trade back like you had spoke about at 25, I think it needs to be an offensive lineman. There is some available at that time where I can't see them passing one up, where I do see another wide receiver very similar that could be drafted later on in the draft.
What am I about to say?
Probably the same exact thing.
Yep, I'm about to say the same thing. You're doing that thing where you're looking at their roster going, hey, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
They've told you they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They franchised Cam Robinson. You know what that tells me? By hook or by crook, they believe in Cam Robinson.
God.
I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying it makes any sense, but they do.
Yeah.
I will tell you another name, and the Kadarius Toney thing, the reason I'm so stuck on Toney to Jacksonville is because I keep hearing it.
Yeah.
Every person that's been in the same zip code as Urban Meyer has said he's in love with Kadarius Toney. I'll tell you another name. And this is a position scarcity thing because this guy is the best player at his position, and it's not even close. If Christian Barmore were to fall to 25, I wouldn't be shocked.
Huh.
I would not be shocked if Jacksonville said, okay. Because he'll be the best player on the board.
Yeah.
If he's there, he's the best player on the board. And there are not many defensive tackles in this draft. And there are very, very few that fit what Jacksonville does. I mean, for me, it's Milton Robinson, who his dad retweeted me yesterday. Thanks.
Word.
That just made me like him even more.
Yeah.
Your dad retweeted me. That just makes me like you even more. But that's about the only two guys that play over the guard this way that I look at and go can be impact players this year.
Yeah.
It's just a name I've heard. Take it for what it's worth. Caleb, next question.
Ooh, I like this question a lot.
Oh, this is the can Drew Lock take the Josh Allen step ahead, and should the Broncos take a quarterback? Does either make them a contender in the AFC West? I'm going to be honest with you. I am higher on Denver than most analysts seem to be.
Okay.
Because the offense is so good. Mm-hmm. And by good, I mean it's really talented.
Mm-hmm.
I look at a guy like Vic Fangio. I think he's going to figure out the defense with all of these pieces. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to stop people. The question is, which makes you more competitive? Drew Lock, who I kind of feel like I already know what you are, or one of these young quarterbacks? Brian, I'll let you answer this, and then I'll follow you.
I looked at this question, and then I looked into some things, and I was extremely surprised. Would you believe that through the first 15 games of both Josh Allen and Drew Lock's career, that Drew Lock has a better completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, and a passer rating. I was very surprised to find that out, and it's not even really close. Completion percentage is 5 points. Tight end. Touchdown to interception ratio, Allen was 13 to 18. Drew Lock is 20 to 16. Passer rating, Josh Allen 68.9. Drew Lock is 79.7. That is something that I'm now eyeball test. My eyeball test after the first set of these games would be that Josh Allen's trajectory was on the rise. As last year watching Drew Lock, I was a champion of Drew Lock's cause in the offseason last year. I thought he was ready to take the next step, and he just didn't do absolutely anything to improve. And it's not like he didn't have weapons around him. Let's be clear here. Drew Lock had Melvin Gordon. Drew Lock had Phillip Lindsay. Drew Lock had Noah Fant. Drew Lock had, I know Cortland Sutton was hurt, but they still had Jerry Jeudy. They still had KJ Hamler. There is a ton of guys around him. You cannot say that he was not surrounded with help. Not to mention, Denver has a fantastic defense. So it's not like the defense was letting them down and he was having to just gunsling all over the field to try to get him back. With that being said, I don't know. And I think that this is going to show a lot because Denver needs to make a decision, because this is right now is what's going to happen. The upper management in Denver needs to make a decision. Is Drew Lock our quarterback or is he not? If Drew Lock is not your quarterback, then you need to trade up and you need to get somebody, because I'm not sure anything's going to be left there at 9. I'm beginning to believe that... I'm beginning to believe that the top 5 quarterbacks are going to be gone by pick 7. And I don't think it's going to get deeper than that. So if you are Denver, you might want to either trade up or decide what you're going to do, because this is shit or get off the pot, so to speak.
So you think all 5 quarterbacks will be gone by pick 7?
Yes.
No, they won't. Who's going to take them? Atlanta's not going to trade down. Let me shut that shit down right now. Atlanta's not going to trade down because nobody has to. You don't have to give up the capital to get to 4. All right, so Atlanta takes Pitts. Chase goes at 5 to the Bengals, and Miami at 6.
I think Miami trades back, and I think Detroit trades back. And so that way, you're going to have, by pick 7, you're going to have the 5th quarterback off the board.
And here would be my question. Mm-hmm. Who feels they have to trade up to 6 with Miami? It's not going to be New England. Miami's not handing New England a quarterback. That's not going to happen.
I think Denver.
Why? Why would Miami do that? You're a wild card contender with them. So you trade back 3 spots, you get what, an extra 2 or an extra 3? Whoop-de-doo. That's the problem. The only trade suitor, because all the teams that need quarterbacks are in the AFC.
Yeah.
Stop giving me the Bears. Stop giving me the Washington football team. Football team has 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Bears have a staff that's going to get fired if this doesn't go well. So they're not going rookie quarterback, and the McCaskies are not going to give them the green light to trade future draft capital anyway. They're all in the AFC. The Dolphins aren't going to do that. All right, let's say Justin Fields falls to 6, because I think he will. Miami's not sold. Justin Fields, but what if he is? What if you're Buffalo 4 years later looking at, we traded the pick that became Pat Mahomes? Don't we look like a big, dumb shit?
Yeah.
And you know why I'm saying this? Because I've had 2 scouts tell me the exact same thing. We're terrified that we trade the pick that becomes Justin Fields and he becomes as good as he could be. Mm-hmm. Now, the range of outcomes on that is, I'll say 10%. Uh-huh. I would say the range of outcomes there are 10%.
Yeah.
But I don't see it happening. Now, to what you said about Drew Lock, and his numbers are better than Josh Allen. Can you name me a receiver that Josh Allen threw to in the first 2 years? Anyone?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say negative on that, Ghost Rider.
John Brown and Zay Jones were the 2 leading receivers on that team. Does that make you feel good?
Yeah, not at all.
Touch in your feelings?
Not at all.
You know Drew Lock has?
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant.
Yes.
One of these things is not like the others.
Again, it was the eye test. The stats jumped out at me, but again, the eye test was that this isn't going to happen.
So using advanced analytics, do you know how many quarterbacks in the NFL were rated lower than Drew Lock last year?
I'd say 2. 5.
And they were Dwayne Haskins, who has been cut, Jalen Hurts, who might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL, Nick Mullins, who I'm not sure is even on a roster at this point, Sam Darnold, who's been traded, and Mitch Trubisky, who wound up on another team.
Yeah.
For $2.5 million.
Yeah, that's what
which still blows my mind.
It was unbelievable.
Denver, how in the shit did you let Mitch Trubisky go to Buffalo for $2.5 million?
Yeah, seriously.
I had to get that out of my mouth.
Yeah. It's crazy. Again, everybody watched Drew Lock last year. It was a consensus it seemed around the NFL that Drew Lock was taking the next step last year, and he did absolutely nothing with it, which, if I watched last year, I don't think he's taken that jump. Per the question that was asked, I don't see him making a Josh Allen leap. And the other question was, what would make them a contender? If Drew Lock is the quarterback, absolutely not. And I still don't necessarily believe that any rookie that comes in is going to be that bad that they can't make a run at the playoffs because their defense is so good and they're loaded at the skill positions.
Yep. My thought with Denver is I like every one of these quarterbacks in Denver. I really do. I don't see how you're going to fail in Denver. Mm-hmm. And that's my problem with Drew Lock, is that I project all 5 quarterbacks to Denver, and they're all good to great. I do that with Drew Lock, and I just see a half-assed, benchable quarterback. You were talking about him taking a step forward. Yeah, he took a lot of steps forward towards the bench.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did last year.
Yeah.
He took a lot of steps to holding a fucking clipboard with a little earpiece in his ear.
Left end guard tackle. Left end of the bench, guard the water cooler and tackle anybody gets near it. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much where he's at.
I will say I think Denver is going to wind up with a quarterback. It's a trade with Detroit because that's where I think a quarterback's going to fall to 7 and Denver's just going to go, we can't wait any longer.
Yeah.
Because Carolina, I don't necessarily think – I don't think a team will offer as much as it would take to get up to Carolina's pick. Mm-hmm. Because Penny Sewell is so important to them.
Yes.
And it's just screaming that they're going to be there. Patriot USA said in the comment, they beat my Fins. The Broncos are close. I agree with you 100%. This year you get back Von Miller. You figured out a way to do that. I think this team is markedly closer to being competitive. They need a quarterback. The question is, if you go up from 9 to 7, who is it that you take? Do you take Justin Fields or do you take Mac Jones?
Oh, gosh.
I don't know that we're going to agree on this.
Honestly, Justin Fields.
Maybe we will.
Justin Fields. It's kind of crazy. We've talked a lot of I don't want junk. We've talked a lot of junk about Justin Fields and it's not junk. It's stuff that
we're not talking junk on Fields. I don't even want that to. I don't even want to let that. I'm telling you what I see.
Yeah, and that's what
I'm not saying that Justin Fields can't do these things. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I've learned in the many years that I've been doing this? Projecting quarterbacks is a good way to get fired.
And that's where I was getting at with that. I said I didn't want to say we're talking junk because we're looking at film, we're seeing things. Jeremy showed me so much stuff that I've learned from being here over the last couple months as far as like watching some tape, watching these things. I've learned so much. And the things that he points out for Fields is hard for me to get away from. But there's part of me that's saying it's around the draft time and there's things. I believe that Justin Fields in a right situation can be successful in this league. And Denver is a spot that he can be successful in because there is so many weapons around him. I feel like if he ends up on a team like New England because of a trade-up, I don't think he's going to succeed. Of all the teams that need a quarterback, Denver is the one situation with Justin Fields, like I feel like he can get in there and he can actually succeed in this league, 100%.
Denver is the best scenario for a quarterback in this draft of any team that will take one, and I don't think it's even all that close. Don't give me San Francisco. And it's for one simple reason. They have a lot of weapons that live hurt. Deebo Samuel, I think, gets hurt wiping his ass one time a year.
He does.
And I love him.
Yep.
I am drunk on Deebo Samuel. I spend a lot of time watching him in person. That being said, he stays hurt a lot.
Yep.
The thing that scares me with Justin Fields is one of the things that has killed me with his tape is he can't take the L. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Justin Fields can't see a play break down and check it down. He can't throw it away. He never does that. And that bothers me. And I think, I'll take Fields in New England. There are no weapons.
Yeah.
You have Nelson Aguilar, who has 10 thumbs. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry that are both over the middle guys.
Yeah.
That big arm for Fields, I don't care if you're throwing to 2 tight ends.
Right. It's not like Kendrick Bourne is going to be jumping off the page as well.
Every 31 NFL teams looked at Kendrick Bourne and went,
No, thank you.
And I think that's what New England should have done, personally. I've never seen a team spend this much money on weapons and their biggest need still be weapons. That's a new one. That's like somebody going to your local gun store and saying, hey, I need a gun. And they buy 5 of them. And they show them to you and you go, well, you still need a gun.
Yeah.
Because if you shot me with that, I think it would bounce off of you.
Yeah. Not
you
a good
bought
idea.
5 Derringers. Shoot BBs. But I look at Fields with Cortland Sutton, who is a very good over the middle, and he can be a deep threat. Jerry Jeudy is one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Noah Fant, who's just a constant mismatch because he's so fast as a tight end. I love the idea of Justin Fields being in Denver. I thought you were going to say Mac Jones because he's so accurate.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just Drew Lock all over again.
Yeah.
It's really high-end Drew Lock, and I don't like that.
And I could see this path where it's going to be, if San Francisco doesn't take Jones at number 3, Jones is going to be the 5th quarterback taken, I believe. That's where my thought process is going to. I believe that nobody prior to this had Jones as their top 3 quarterback. I don't believe anybody maybe even had him in their top 4. I believe that he's been 5 in my mind all along. And if he doesn't get drafted at 3, he's definitely the number 5 quarterback coming off the board, in my opinion.
And here's the thing about Mac Jones. I've heard that, he wasn't in the top 4. Yeah, that's because we started watching tape on him. That's because we thought Mac Jones was just a trigger guy that was getting the ball into the hands of elite skill players, which to a point he was. But he did a very good job of that. I have no problem with Mac Jones. I just think the ceiling on him is so damn low. I don't see a path and the Tom Brady comparison is. Can we be really honest about something? Why is it that every inathletic white quarterback gets compared to Tom Brady?
I don't know.
Because there's nothing about their 2 games other than what I just said that are in any way Tom Brady-esque.
No.
It drives me. Those drive me insane. They just drive me crazy.
You talk about it all the time. It's just an absolute lazy comparison. You look at slow white dude, and who do you automatically think of? You think of Tom Brady, and then that's where your mind goes. Let's be clear here. Mac Jones is not going to win 7 freaking Super Bowls. You're talking about the greatest quarterback of all time. Shut up, stop talking, and move on.
Patriot USA said in the comments that he would like Davis Mills to the Broncos, and I'll be honest with you, I don't hate that. I just don't think Davis Mills is ready. One of the biggest knocks on him is that he hasn't played a ton of snaps in college. And if I'm going quarterback and I'm bringing somebody in to contend with Drew Lock, it's either Teddy Bridgewater, which is, by the way, why I'm not totally sold they're taking a quarterback, because I wouldn't be shocked if they find a way to do something with Teddy Bridgewater. If I'm doing that, it has to be somebody that's ready to push him right now.
Yeah.
Because one of 2 things will happen if they bring in another quarterback. Either Drew Lock is going to be the best version of himself, and he's going to work his ass off, and we're going to see what the potential is on him, or he's going to wilt like an old flower. I don't know which one. I don't know the kid personally. I didn't particularly like him coming into the draft. He went about where I thought he would.
Yeah.
I never looked at him and said, that's a franchise NFL quarterback.
And I think that what you saw from Drew Lock was that the last 3 or 4 games of his rookie season, he really showed out. But I think that at that point, it was different circumstances. With the Davis Mills things, I just see that that's the same kind of quarterback. I don't think that if you're bringing in a quarterback, you're not bringing in the same kind of quarterback that Drew Lock is. Tall.
Davis Mills and Drew Lock are not the same quarterback.
Well, what's the differences in the 2?
Davis Mills has a much livelier arm than Drew Lock does.
Okay.
The biggest, I'll be honest with you, if Davis Mills had 2 working knees, I would put him, I'd probably have him ahead of Mac Jones on arm talent alone. I never thought that with Drew Lock. That was always my biggest knock on him. The biggest knock for me on Drew Lock was he's not going to beat you with his arm.
Right.
He's a dude. Davis Mills can be super high-end if he can stay healthy.
Right, and I don't think, obviously, I don't think that Patriot USA is talking about drafting Davis Mills at number 9 because
No. And I didn't think he was.
Yeah.
He was saying that he's probably saying take a corner at 9 if you need one.
Exactly.
And then maybe you can get Davis Mills in the second, trade back in the second, and still get him. I don't think you'll be able to do that, but
yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is if you don't go quarterback in the first round and Davis Mills is there in maybe the second round, I don't know if that's such a bad idea at that point. But again, I just don't think Drew Lock is going to be the answer, period. I think that they're moving on from him, and I guess it all depends on what happens in front of him to see where it goes.
I agree. I do agree. I think they're going to need a quarterback. It's just a question of, is there one that you feel like you can, day one, be better than you are with Drew Lock? Justin Fields, I think you could. Patriot USA saying take Davis Mills in the 4th or 5th. That's not happening. Davis Mills may not be there when their second-round pick comes along. Not saying he shouldn't be, just saying what I'm hearing. But thank you, Jimmy Smith, for the question on the Denver Broncos. Caleb, next question.
Last one, guys.
Should the Lions trade back? Also, is Mac Jones at 3 a smokescreen, or is it legit? I think we've kind of answered the Mac Jones thing.
Yep.
I firmly believe Mac Jones at 3 is a smokescreen.
Yep.
And the reason I say that's what we opened this with. The 49ers don't leak anything out of the building, and then everybody and their brother knows what they're doing at 3. That screams bullshit to me. So I'm going to say Mac Jones is a smokescreen at 3. I say it's Trey Lance. Now, should the Lions trade back? 149% yes. Mm-hmm. Tell me the player that they could take at 7 that's going to change anything about this team.
I think that they still can get the same player that they want if they trade back, but I don't think they want to trade back too far. I think that the thing is, there's not too many people that are going to get into that. I don't think New England can get up to number 7, and I don't see anybody in front of New England really wanting to trade up other than Denver. The Denver from 9 to 7 is the only thing that really screams anything to me, and I still think they want Jalen Waddle, and I still think they can get Jalen Waddle at 9. I don't see Dallas trading up to 7. I don't see the Giants trading up to 7. I don't see the Chargers trading up to 7. I don't see Philadelphia trading up to 7. I don't see anybody getting up to 7 other than Denver.
I buzzed you on one of those.
Uh-oh. Which one was it?
San Diego Superchargers.
Los Angeles.
I know, but the song was San Diego Superchargers. So sorry,
I know.
Los Angeles Superchargers. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
Go Chargers, go.
There are 2 things that you can trade up for in the NFL draft. What are they? In terms of trading into the top 10.
Quarterback and tackle. Yeah.
Who picks at 8?
Oh, the Carolina Panthers.
What do the San Diego Superchargers need more than anything?
They need an offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm. Who's the best one in this draft?
Penny Sewell is going to be that guy.
There you go.
Yep.
And who are the Lions after at 7?
Jalen Waddle.
Nope.
Oh.
That's what I thought too. I'm wrong.
What is it?
It's Micah Parsons. That's the guy they are hot to trot on, is Micah Parsons. You don't have to take him at 7. You can trade back to 13 with the Chargers. Okay. Still get the guy you want. And I'm the way that I've always projected trades, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've done pretty well in the media. There's a media mock draft thing, of which this is the first year that I really qualify as media. I kept submitting my own shit. Like, hey, I count. I'm a guy. Well, now I'm actually a thing, dick. Stop sending
You've
it back.
You've always been a thing, Jeremy.
Stop sending my shit back like you don't know who I am. I just hit that table aggressively.
It's okay. Nothing fell.
Yeah, I hope it didn't. The way that I've always mocked trades is you just have to look at the team back behind them. And what is something that could – I think people fall into this trade – like teams are going to trade up for receivers. No, they're not. No, they're not. Mm-mm. Teams never do that. Might do it in the 20s. They don't do it in the teens. They don't do it in the single digits. You trade up for tackles. You trade up for quarterbacks. So we have been so locked in that if a team trades up, it has to be for a quarterback. What if it's not? What if it's not? What if a team looks at Penny Sewell the way I do and they go, hey, that's our left tackle for the next 15 years to protect Justin Herbert?
Well, I mean, there has been some teams that traded up for wide receivers. I mean, Julio Jones and Sammy Watkins come to mind right away.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
I mean, that is.
I'm talking about right now.
Yeah. But when you said Micah Parsons, I was like, there's no way they're drafting them at 7. But drafting him at 13, for example, with the Chargers, drafting them if someone can come back up and get them. If that's the case and they're sold on Micah Parsons, then heck, they could probably trade back with just about anybody in the first round. Well, not everybody, but, as far as maybe, what do you think, 16 goes with Minnesota?
And feel sure you're going to get him?
Yeah.
I don't know that I would tempt the Giants if I was dead set. That's the guy that it has to be. Roy said, "Why are we not talking about the Vikings moving up?" I was getting there. That's a team I've said on the ESPN show twice. Is a team that don't be shocked. Just realize that George Payton is a guy that had a lot of influence in that room, and he ain't there anymore. Don't be shocked. Anytime we feel like we know something in the draft, you should start trying. When the public yangs, you should yang. And we've been so convinced that these 5 quarterbacks are going to the Jaguars, the Jets, the 49ers, the Broncos, and the Patriots. I mean, that's what everybody's seen in every mock draft, right?
Yeah.
Don't be shocked if it's not that. Because what if the Minnesota Vikings look at Justin Fields and go, his upside's much higher than Kirk Cousins is. And we've got a young receiver in Justin Jefferson that would pair quite nicely with him. And we've got Mike Zimmer that's way safer than you think he is. Am I saying I think it's going to happen? No. I'm saying it could happen.
Well, I don't think that Detroit they wouldn't make a trade.
No. I'm not saying with Detroit.
Okay.
I'm talking about period.
Yeah.
I'm talking about with Miami.
Whoa, that is a supercharged jump. And again, this all depends, and that's why in the beginning of the show I talked about why Miami is so intriguing, because they could do just about anything they want. Minnesota is not winning a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins as their quarterback, and I don't think anybody believes anything different. If you have an opportunity to get up into that spot to get a quarterback and you're Minnesota, I think if you can do it, do it. I think that the only thing I'm seeing as a difference is Minnesota's defense wasn't as good as it's been in the past last year, and I think they have some holes in the defense that they need to fix.
Corner's not good, and Mike Zimmer's defense is predicated on it. There are at least 2 Dallas Cowboy fans in the comments that can vouch for what I just said.
Yeah. So I don't know what.
But they just added Patrick Peterson, who is he's physically limited compared to what he used to be. He's still not bad.
No, and not only that, but he's also a great locker room guy. So if you bring in some rookies, even if you get them later on, but we talked about the cornerback depth isn't huge in this draft. I think you got the top 4, maybe 5 that are, I don't know. There's some starters in that middle tier of cornerbacks here. What I'm saying is, if Minnesota has an opportunity to get a quarterback, go do it. Go do it. Kirk Cousins is not going to win you any Super Bowls whatsoever. You have an up-and-coming, you have a stud at running back, you have a stud young wide receiver, and Adam Thielen is still serviceable in this league. Not even serviceable, he's still really good in this league. I think Irv Smith is a fantastic tight end.
Thank God Kyle Rudolph's gone.
Yeah.
I'm glad he went to your shitty New York Giants. So now we can finally unleash Irv Smith on the world.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Minnesota's one of those guys that we kind of talked about here and there, but not because we just assumed that Kirk Cousins is going to be their quarterback and that they didn't have an opportunity to move up from 16 to the top 10 to get a quarterback. But the things that are happening now, who the hell knows?
You know what they say when you assume.
Yeah.
You assume you make an ass out of me and your dumbass.
Yeah.
Patriot USA, by the way, is on fire in the comments today. A very good point. You don't just, with the quarterbacks in this draft, you don't just have to look at teams that need one right now. You have to look at the fact that they're not going to have access to a quarterback for 2 years. And if one more person says, Spencer Rattler, stop talking. Stop saying words. You're on conversation probation. You're not allowed to talk 5 minutes.
that talk is all about just they think Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer, and anybody that leaves Oklahoma is automatically going to be the best quarterback in the world.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler gets rattled very easily.
Yeah.
And I noticed that just watching tape on his weapons from last year. So calm down with the Spencer Rattler talk.
Yeah.
There's a reason that every front office that I have talked to has said this is the worst, the next 2 years set up to be the worst influx of quarterbacks we've had in 25 years. Just remember, there was an E.J. Manuel, Geno Smith draft in there. That was the first 2 quarterbacks taken. And there were evaluators that worked back then that said, nope.
Oh, my God.
It's worse than that. And I'll tell you, as somebody that watched Geno Smith in 2 different ways, fuck him, first of all. Second of all, if it's worse than that, it's an atrocity.
Oh, God.
This has been fun.
You know what?
We need to do more of this mailbag shit.
I really enjoy that. I think that we should make that we're doing every Thursday together.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
I think me and you should do, you send out the question the night before on Jeremy's Twitter handle, at @JGreene ESPN. There we go. And any question that you have regarding anything. But right now we're just obviously loaded with the draft. But so next Thursday, especially since we're going to be doing every single pick here live from the Wicked Weed studio, every single one of them, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Prayers for our livers. It's going to get dangerous.
There's going to be a lot of these consumed right here.
And between me and him, especially.
And you know what we've got? There's a decent number of people in the chat here. Anybody that will share, we just put out a new promo yesterday that I get to tell Bill Belichick to fuck himself. Yeah. It gets bleeped in the middle. But anybody that will share that, anybody that can, we are desperately trying to monetize before the draft because we're going to be live for about, 47 hours in a 60-hour period. And, obviously with pandemic and all the things, we kind of got put behind the 8 ball for a little bit. So we love you guys. I talk to some of you guys more than I talk to anybody. So, before the show this morning, we were like, you know what, we can just level. We need 295 subscribers to monetize, and it takes about 2 days to do. Yeah. So we are full court pressing. So anything you want to share, like any of those things, it is greatly appreciated. We appreciate you more than we could ever say. I had so many people reach out to me yesterday and say, how can I help? Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, I don't always know the answer to that. But
yeah, this is the number one thing that you can do to help is to share out any, especially if you follow the you follow the Sportsocracy Facebook page. Go ahead and share out the things that we do onto your news feed. It'll help go out to more people. We desperately need some more subscribers before that. We're not going to be shameful and we're going to ask for it. Yeah. Because we've been working really, really, really hard to get to this point.
I've basically slept here for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, Jeremy has worked his tail off. Tank as well, Caleb as well.
I will say, though, I don't want too much sympathy because it is way better doing this from here than it was from my house.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, the office in my house is pretty sweet. The office here is fucking tremendous. Yeah. We got good acoustics. We got speakers. We got stuff.
We have taken we're doing things in nice steps. This is the next step that we're trying to take as a team to get to where we need to be.
And it's all, we're trying to do this in a way that nobody's ever done it. Yeah. I have scoured YouTube to see if there's another channel that does team-specific content. We plan on doing it all year long. Yeah. We're going to do more gambling stuff. But with the day that I get to sit in this chair, which is the only time I get to say things like this, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that watches the show. I love seeing new people in the comments. It makes it feel like we're getting somewhere. Doing what we
I've never seen Patriot USA in there before.
There were a few that I've never seen.
By the way, good job today, Patriot USA. We need you in those comments more often, bud.
Anybody I say your name 3 times, you pretty much killed it today. You probably did a better job today than I did. Live from the Wicked Weed studio, this has been the Sportsocracy. He's Brian Haynes. I'm Jeremy Greene. Mr. Spencer will be back with me this afternoon on ESPN Radio. You can find us on the iHeartRadio app. Take us wherever you go. All you have to do is search either my name or the Sports Take with my name. Hear us live on ESPN every weekday. We'll be back here. It'll be Tank and I tomorrow morning in the Wicked Weed studio, 9 a.m. We will see you later on.
We'll be right back.